Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so today's video is going to be a little bit of a challenge without working with you in person for you to understand. But I'm going to give it a shot, and I think it's important for you to understand how humans, call it our energy or our unconscious minds, how we relate to each other and how we connect, and even how we take on each other's energy. Okay, this is going to be a life-changing video if you are willing to listen to put the pieces together. This is a right brain amalgamation. I'm going to use left brain science and points, but we're going to connect the dots. If you can do this, you're going to see where the world is at right now and the era that we are entering into. We are going through a massive shift. We are not there yet. We are on the verge of it. Pay attention to this video. If you listen to one video for the rest of your life when it comes to my channel, just listen to this one. It may end up being 2 videos. So the original goal of call us spiritual humans being here on the planet, the whole three dimension that God made for us, the alpha, the omega, the beginning and the end, which is time, and then we include space and distance, okay? You've got length, width, and height, the third dimension, okay? The first goal that we had to do was we had to conquer the land. What do I mean? I don't mean we have to kill everything. What I mean is we had to be able to travel and transport smoothly enough, easily enough, so we didn't burn up all our energy. Well, up until about 1940, most people walked miles and miles for work. You go back even 20, 30, 40 years before that, most people walked miles and miles and miles to hunt, to gather food. All the way back to the caveman era, up until very, very recently, most human beings spent most of their time climbing over rocks, going up and over hills on their own 2 feet, exhausting all of their physical energy and calories in their body. So your muscles used to take up the majority of the energy. Because as cavemen, American Indians, even in the wild west, most of what we had to do is we had to hunt, we had to kill, we had to gather, okay? So up until very recently, most of our energy did not go to our brain for creative functions, which is why we are here in the first place. It's the whole purpose of mankind's existence. In order to do this, we had to work together. We had to follow a set of rules. We had to do as we were told. Society was dominated. You were dominated, being in the book of Revelations, I found a verse and I looked it up. It said the two little horns, and I'm like, okay, well, I've got these dictionaries. Actually, let me get it. Hold on. We are going to shift into what's happening with AI and ChatGPT right now. So this is just follow along. Alright, so I've got a big King James Bible, almost called the dictionary. It's called the Hebrew Greek Key Study Bible, King James Version, Strong's Dictionary, Word Studies, and Concordance. Now this has an Old Testament dictionary and a New Testament dictionary in the back. So anytime you come across any word other than words like is, to, and the, so it's house, love, person, you can look up, well, what did that word mean back then during that time in that era, meaning that area of the land, okay? So what did this word mean at that time in that part of the world? Now, real quick, I also have a Vine's Complete Expository Dictionary of the Old and New Testament. So this will have pages, sometimes chapters, or even not chapters, but paragraphs or even pages on one single word. What did this word mean in that time exactly? Then I have another one called the King James Bible Word Book, a contemporary dictionary of curious and archaic words found in the King James Version of the Bible. When you look these words up, all of a sudden you're like, oh, see, you don't have to go to church to understand it, because a lot of times you'll sit there and listen to the pastor, and he doesn't break down what these words mean, and a lot of times most pastors have never looked these words up. So I looked up whatever it was that verse was in Book of Revelations, and it was talking about the 2 little horns. I was like, okay, well, what's the 2 little horns? Well, there was a number next to it, so I flipped back to the New Testament dictionary. Okay, what does this mean? It's like, oh, 1 horn represents the church, and 1 horn represents the government. The 2 horns work together to control the masses. Now here's the deal. I'm not necessarily judging good or bad, right or wrong here. I'm just going, okay, so that is very true. The churches have always gotten people to work together, be peaceful, don't kill each other, try to work together, try to not steal from each other and hurt each other. Like, let's live by some set of standard or rules where we can get along, and let's get some things done, such as build silos so we can store food, and eventually build roads so we can transport things a lot easier, so we don't have to spend all our time walking to the pond and catching a frog or two to feed our family. Like, literally, that's how hard life used to be. You'd have to walk 2 or 3 hours or maybe longer to catch a rabbit or a couple rabbits, and it would take all day running around. Maybe you got a deer. In other words, life was tough. It was not easy. So all of our energy was spent for getting food, feeding, then bringing the food back, cooking it and eating, and then we fell asleep and we started all over again the next day. There was no forward movement for mankind on that level. So what we found is, hey, if we work together, if I build the wheel and you build the bearings and you build the tire and you build the engine and you build the transmission and you build the fenders and you build the windows and the door latches and the locks, we can work together to bring more for all of us, to help us to have a better life. So on some level, that's where mankind was at, whether they liked it or not. There's a level. The first level is survival level. It's the scavenger level, where you're just literally scavenging for food all by yourself, or maybe your own family. The next level is the tribal level. Okay, we had the tribal level many years ago, hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago. So you're in a tribe and there's one king, and his word is rule, and that's it. You either do it or you get kicked out of the tribe or you get killed. Because the tribe cannot survive if we don't work together. We are moving beyond this. And a lot of people are stuck on the tribal level. The next level is the Rambo level, where they're like, screw this, I work hard to make this king rich and I get nothing out of it. And so they're like, screw it, I'm going to go. Now there's 2 Rambo levels. One Rambo level is I'm going to go against the king, or I'm going to go against everything. The other one is the police officer. These are the ones that basically go against the bad Rambos, and they put them in jail and all that stuff, but they're still on the same level. Have you ever heard that police officers are on the same level as criminals? Well, they have to be, because they have to understand how they think. The next level is the church level, the religious level. We are way past this, yet most people are still stuck in it. So on the church level, like, we all agree, like, we're going to come together, we're going to believe in a higher power, a God, whatever, and we're going to follow a set of rules so society becomes better, so we're not killing each other, so we're not stealing, we don't have these bad Rambos running around doing stuff, okay? Now here's the deal. I'm not saying 100% of people are on the 4th level either. Multiple people are on different levels, okay? Then the next level is the entrepreneur level. So this is the 5th level. This is basically rape the land and basically get the gain the profits. In other words, carve up the mountainside, get the core, the copper, the ore, the diamonds, the rocks, the steel, oil, whatever, and leave the land basically wasted. But we do it for profits, okay? I think they call that the entrepreneur level. Hold on. Yeah, I think it's called the entrepreneur level. So the next one is the first. This is important to hear. This is the first spiritual level. It's really not that good. It's a very toxic level. These are the people that walk around and say, save the whales, save the earth, save the trees. It sounds good, but there's one really bad problem with it. These people tend to be very blind. They're still left-brain beings, and they're like, hey, let's be good people, and they feel bad about what we've done to the earth, which is kind of a good thing, actually. But they say things like, yeah, if we just get rid of our military, we could take all that money, we could educate people, and we could build better things not to damage the land, and we could do this and do that. The problem is there's zero reality. The fact of the matter is, not everyone is at this level. A lot of people, a lot of countries are on level 2 and level 3, where we're here to kick your ass, and when you become the nice guy and you get rid of your military, we will invade and we will kill all of you. We don't care. That's reality. That's reality. Sorry, I got cut off there. So then you go on up to the next spiritual level and so forth, all the way up to the 14th, 15th, etc. Okay? Most human beings are not on those levels. So we are now moving mankind. We're saying, hey, it's time to let go of the logical left level. There is more. We are better than this. We are at a point where we have transportation and we're getting machines. We're getting computers. We're getting all these things that are going to start doing the hard labor for us, which is going to allow us to be in the Garden of Eden once again, to be in our creative mode, which we were always meant to be in the first place. The first spiritual level is still a left brain logical thinking. Follow the rules, do as you're told, be a good boy, be a good girl. It's following the rules. There's no self-thinking there, and that's the shift we are about to make. So I've been using ChatGPT, AI, and something called Sidekick, which is essentially another form of ChatGPT. It's Shopify's new, well, it's been there for a while now, I think 6 months or more. I'm not actually sure how long. But it's just like ChatGPT, but it focuses on Shopify and their websites and how to help you with that. And also it goes on online, it gathers information. So we are coming out of the do as you're told, conform, fit in, be like everyone else era. It's like there is a battle going on. There are some people like, no, I don't want to let go of my group, because people find, what do they call it? Safety in numbers, SIN. Most people are terrified to think for themselves, and I don't blame them, because our churches and our governments, our movies, our television shows, we have been just our school systems. It was all designed to humiliate you publicly, to shame you publicly, to physically, verbally, emotionally, socially. Sorry, I keep clicking that button. To terrorize you. This is one of the things that narcissists are designed to do. They're designed to terrorize you so you never think for yourself. And that's how you know, is like, okay, well, people are very logical, linear. They sound logical. Their pupils get small. What are you talking about, Mike? Well, when your pupils get small, that's how you know someone is in their logical left brain. The logical left brain is about rules, structure, organization. I am Robotron. Do as I told. I will fit in. I'm going to show you how Robotronic we are very, very soon here. Just hold on. I'm going to show you a couple videos. So I remember it was a college writing class, probably a creative writing. I don't remember. I think that was the name of the class. But one thing that the teacher has said is like, well, right brain functioning is amalgamation. I'm like, okay, well, what is that? Amalgamation is, and I actually remember going home looking it up in the dictionary. Okay, what is left brain thinking? Left brain thinking is, you gather information, you memorize it. Your left brain is nothing but a processor. Listen closely. It is nothing more than a processor that gathers information and it memorizes things. And it turns everything into rules, structure, and organizations. So simply put, the left brain memorizes stuff and then it regurgitates it. There is zero thinking. It's all memorization. So very left brain logical people, college people, they think, well, that is thinking. No, it's not at all. There's zero thinking there. So you will hear people quote other doctors, other scientists, Dr. So-and-so, what he said blah, 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 blah. So all you did was you memorized something that someone said, and now you're saying it, and somehow that makes you the person who said it. It's not. But people, their egos would be like, yeah, I said that. No, you didn't. That was Dr. So-and-so in 1940. That wasn't you. In fact, you said it with your own mouth. Well, because saying a doctor, well, this study that was done by Harvard, well, this thing done over here at USC, what it shows is all you're doing is repeating stuff that other people did. And a lot of people think, well, that gives me authority. It doesn't give you authority. You were not the one who created that. So we still live in a society where most people are very left brain. You have to, and here's something I realized this just the other day. I'm going to have to start quoting a lot of these books that I've read, these quotes, these studies, these scientific things. Now here's the thing, when I teach the men's course, the 6-day Cracked Female Code course for men, I go the first 2 days, it's nothing but scientific proof. I pull out books, I pull out manuals, scientific studies, and they're like, wow, I didn't know that. And a lot of times like, wow, I actually learned that in college science before, in psychology. I go, see, you knew it, you just didn't know how to put the pieces together. And that is the key. Amalgamation. All right, so here I am in psychology class, and one of the things I learned is a lot of the students would just memorize the teacher's inflections when they'd say blah, 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 blah. And I remember these kids were talking about something. What are you guys talking about? Like, well, all we're doing is just listening to their inflections. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why? They're like, well, didn't your mom and dad teach you that how do you know what is on the test is when they emphasize a word or a sentence? I'm like, no. And because I think I said, well, didn't you read the chapter? They're like, well, no, I didn't read the chapter at all. Why? I'm like, well, how are you going to learn the material? I'm like, well, just listen to the inflections. They weren't even listening to the professor while the professor was teaching it. They were just listening for the inflections because that's going to be on the test. And I remember these 3 kids said, well, what you do is you listen, and when they emphasize something, that's how you know it's going to be on the test. So you write that down. I'm like, you're joking. So you've been taking the whole semester just listening for that, not listening to understand the material. They're like, well, no. Well, why would I do that? I'm like, well, what do you want to do for a living? Like, well, I'm going to get my doctorate degree in psychology. I said, for what purpose? Well, I want to be a psychologist and be a therapist to help people. I'm like, but you don't understand the material. You don't even understand this material from this class. They're like, well, what does that matter? I'm like, how are you going to help someone if you don't know what you're doing? And they all went, oh, like it was an epiphany. And they look at us right brain people who actually learn how to do it and think, wow, those guys are weird. What's wrong with them? We should have ushered in the era of the right brain, probably about 100 years ago, maybe even more, but we haven't. Our governments, our churches especially, our psychologists, our schools, our educational system have absolutely shut it down. They don't want you to open up to your right brain because there's a certain group of people that are in power. And if they can keep you disconnected from yourself, which is your right brain, look within, well, they can control you. They can tell you what to do. They can influence you. And I'm going to show you something very soon here. You know, one of the guilt trips they play is that somehow self-thinking is going to cause you to do bad things. No, self-thinking is going to cause you to do great things. You're going to create cures and healings and machines and better ways of living and better ways of curing people and healing people with broken bones. And we are exploding on this era right now. So right now there's a real battle going on there's about 55, maybe 65% of people that are still in the you got to conform, you got to do as you're told, but the other side is exploding. It may not be 45%, but we're gaining in numbers, and they're going, it's out of control now. You can't stop us. So we're not afraid to think for ourselves anymore. We're not afraid to be creative. We're not afraid to throw out a brand new idea or a thought like, hey, I listened to so-and-so, and in science class what I learned was A, B, and C, and if you connect those pieces together, now we have this. The people that aren't willing to open their minds, they're not going to learn. They're not going to be able to understand things. Now, I'm going to throw a lot of science at you, maybe not a lot, but some things that you have heard. I remember I heard this stuff when I was a kid in like middle school or probably even elementary school. We were talking about this. So this is not some new scientific discovery. And yet people are like, oh, well, you can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean can't do that? We already do that. We've been doing this for our whole lives. Animals freaking do it. So here's the thing. The left brain memorizes stuff and then it regurgitates it. In other words, it just spits it back out. There's zero thinking there. But most people that are logical, they're like, I'm a thinker. No, you're not. You're just memorizing something and repeating it back. Here's the worst part. They don't even understand what they're talking about. Now here's the deal. I've been using AI and ChatGPT, which is the very linear logical system. Here's how it works. It's really simple. You start talking to it and it starts picking up the words that you use most and use a lot. Could be the word love. And here's what happens. You can watch your friend do it on their computer and like, wow, that's weird. That thing sounds totally different than mine. Because mine has more warmth and more love to it, more words like comforting. And I noticed in the beginning it was very Robotron mechanical, but then as it began to move along, it started using my words, and it was really obvious. I'm like, oh, yep, it's been picking up on my words, and now it's starting to spit them back. That's the way these systems work. This is the way our left brain works. Now, in and of itself, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, now here's the thing. This is also what narcissists do, but there is a slight difference. A narcissist will, hold on. Okay, so let's say you use a word or a phrase, or you talk about a certain thing, or you have a strategy of the way of talking, explaining things. What they do is they copy it, and then they feed it back to you, which in and of itself is not bad, but what they do is they use it to punish you. They use it to be like, yeah, you're bad, I'm using your words, because it convinces your emotional system that, oh wow, because I believe those are, see, they regurgitate your values, your rules, structure, your values, your beliefs, and all that stuff. And they go, oh, they believe this. Oh, this is one of their top values. Oh, and they start to feed it back to you, but in a negative way. That's what narcissists do. So repeating stuff back to someone in and of itself is not a bad thing. You know, the whole do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Well, that's a mistranslation. It means others do unto you as they want you to do unto them. For example, in the deep love strategy, a lot of you know it as the 5 love languages. Well, I learned it in NLP years ago before Gary Chapman wrote his book. And by the way, from what I remember, he took NLP and learned about the deep love strategy, and then he went and wrote a book on it. And he called it the 5 love languages. So deep love strategy is essentially visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And then what he added was time together, and then acts of service. I'm talking fast for a reason. I'm trying to get to the big picture here. So the deep love strategy, or the 5 love languages, is essentially discover, well, what is your partner's love strategy? Because if you don't meet their love strategy, they will never feel loved by you, no matter how hard you express your love to them, no matter how deeply you love them. And you'll argue, you will fight, and you'll end up getting divorced. So this is the left brain thing. Essentially, you're supposed to discover, like, well, so what is their deep love strategy? Well, some people are visual. They need to see it. Now, a lot of people go, oh, those are those greedy people. No, it could be a piece of paper, an old, wrinkly piece of paper. You could write down, I love you on it, and put a heart or a smiley face. You don't even have to do that. But it has to be something visual that they can see. So you write, I love you, you put a little smiley face, and you show it to them. They will melt. You didn't have to spend a dime. And then there's the auditory system. They need to hear it. Things like I love you, cutie pie, sweetie, like little phrases and nicknames you have for each other, like honey pie, pumpkin head. That was something I used to say to my goddaughter to make her feel good. For some reason, it made her feel comforted. And so I would say that to her, like, it's okay, pumpkin head. So it's these little words and phrases. It's auditory. It's something they hear. Now, if you try to show someone that you love them who is auditory, it's not going to go into their system, because that's not their system. They need to hear it. That's their system. And if you don't do it in their system, see, it's not do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It's others do unto you as they would have you do unto them. Then you have the kinesthetic people. They need to be touched. They need to be hugged. You got to lean up against them. You got to hold their hands. You got to hug them once in a while. They need physical, what we call kinesthetic, which means touch. So if a kinesthetic person gets into a relationship with a visual person or an auditory person, no matter how much you show them, no matter how much you tell them, they will never, ever, ever believe that you actually love them, because you're not hugging them. That's the only way. It's the neurosystem, the neurology way, the pathway for them to receive your love. If you don't do it their way, they're going to be like, you don't even care about me. That's not love. And that's what they'll say to you. Now, guess what visual and auditory people, and also time people, and then acts of service people say about kinesthetic people? Oh, they're clingy. No, they're not clingy. They're kinesthetic. It's the way they receive love. So if you're with someone and you're like, man, they're so clingy. No, they're kinesthetic, which means you're not kinesthetic, okay? Clinginess is a completely different thing. So a lot of people misunderstand what kinesthetic is versus being clingy, okay? Clingy is someone who's just needy. So some people, it's time. They need to spend a certain amount of time with you. You could be across the room. You don't have to look at them. You don't have to show them anything. You don't got to tell them anything. You don't have to touch them. But they need to spend time with you. If they don't spend enough time with you, they're like, yeah, you don't really care about me, so I'm going to move on to the next person who does. And then you have the person that's acts of service. They like it when you do little things. And a lot. Here's the funny thing. A lot of avoidance. In fact, from what I've understood so far, I actually dated an avoidant 3-4 months ago, and it was one of the first things she said. She goes, well, I just like it when people like like learn things about me, about what I like, and so I don't have to tell them what to do. Like they just know, like, oh, they like it when I prepare the food this way, or I pull out the chair, or just acts of service, you doing things for them. So a lot of people think, oh, and it's possible, like, well, an avoidant, that's just the way they receive love, and that's possible. It may be like, oh, that's an avoidant, that's just their style. Now, why did I bring this up? Because this is still the AI system. This is the left brain system. It's like, okay, I'm watching what they're doing, I'm noticing what they need, and now I'm going to give it back to them. That's exactly what ChatGPT does. You say these values, these rules, these beliefs, and it starts feeding it back to you. It's essentially just showing you who you are. And when it comes to humans, we should have mastered this by now. Because it's time to move on to the next level, our right brain. And it is happening whether you like it or not. So there is a new way that is on the horizon. When I say on the horizon, it is like the sun is about to rise. It is about to happen. We are in the midst of it right now. So I've been talking about this for 30 years. I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce here in San Rafael for 2 years, 2 full complete years. And one of the things, I was in the office one day talking to the, I don't know if they call him the head guy, I forget what he's called. By the way, he's from Napa, from my city. I don't know if he's still the Chamber of Commerce member. This was a long time ago. So he was the manager, or whatever they call him. And there was the couple ladies there, the office lady and a couple other people, and then a couple members. And I said, we're moving into the right brain era, where if men don't learn how to use their right brain, they're going to fall behind in business. And they laughed like, no, Michael, business is linear, it's logical, it's left brain. I'm like, no, that's not true. Apple computers are exploding onto the scene. Oh, Apple computers, you can't use those for business. Well, even back then, Apple computers were taking over the business scene. Those are now the business computers. Apple computers are designed on the non-linear, meaning circular. Linear, L-I-N-E, means to go in a line. The old IBM processors used to be called Linux, L-I-N-E. I think it's UX, or however they spell that. It means to go in a line. Those were the simple processors from point A to point B, which is the male way of doing things, the logical left brain. It means to go in a line, linear. The new system is the nonlinear. It's the circular, expansive processors. And we're going to talk about amalgamation very soon here. Now, do you remember the problem with the IBM computers back in the 90s and early 2000s, and probably a little bit past that? What was the major problem with these computer processors? You could only do 1 or 2 things on them efficiently. If you loaded up like 3 or 4 things, the things would lock up and they would shut down and they would completely freeze. You would have to shut them off, and it would take a while for it to shut off, like 2 or 3 minutes, and then you have to let it sit there for another 2 or 3 minutes or 4 minutes, and then you turn them on and it would go, and it would take another minute or 2 to upload and reload again. So it took a long time. So if you were typing something, say sending an email, you had some music playing, and then you turned on YouTube, they would shut down. Ladies, doesn't that sound like men? You know how, see, the right brain is the multitasker. It means you can talk about more than one subject at a time and do more than one thing at a time. You're holding your kid, you're feeding it food, you're talking to your husband or boyfriend, and then you're talking about your hair cutter, and now you have this other conversation going on. Have you ever noticed that when you talk to men, they kind of just like stare at you, and you're like, are you even listening to me? And he's just like, here's what happened. You locked him up. In other words, you know how when you're on a computer and you have too many windows open and it freezes, and that, like on Apple computers, the little ball will start to spin? Well, that's what you did to him. He literally couldn't listen anymore. His brain he got locked down into a trance and he was stuck. I'm serious. And then he has to literally reboot and clear his cache and history and go, okay, what's going on? What are we talking about? You did this to him. I'm not blaming you. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a laugh, because now you're like, you mean that? Yeah, they literally froze up. It wasn't that they weren't listening. They're just, and they couldn't think anymore. Because the left brain, the linear system, the line, L-I-N-E, go from point A to point B, was designed to be focused on one thing at a time. When you started talking about 2 or 3 things at the same time, his brain started to slow down, and it got really confused. In all sincerity, the beginning is near. We are almost there. Anytime you go through a transformation like this, there's going to be a battle. There's going to be struggle because it causes a lot of people who aren't open-minded. Now, okay, how do you learn something? And I'm about to show you some things that are going to be like, well, yeah, actually, we learned this when we were kids, and yet you didn't understand it, or maybe other people didn't understand. Because I'm going to throw some scientific stuff out and be like, I learned this when I was literally in elementary school. We used to talk about this, especially in middle school. So one of the things I learned in college was that the female mating system occurs off to the right brain's communication center, and the male mating system connects to his eyes through the optic nerves. So for women, they have a nerve that occurs off to the right brain. For men, the mating system, by the way, our mating systems are both in the lower reptilian brain, the fight or flight, the survival brain, the brain that we used during the caveman era. And he has a mating system that connects to the optic nerves, which connect to his eyes, which means, that means he's visually stimulated, meaning it triggers his mating system and it turns him on. Well, women are not turned on just visually. They like and need auditory communication, but the hidden right brain, the internal, mentally stimulating and emotionally fulfilling language. This is what I specialize in. This is what I teach men how to do, how to open up to the right brain so she can open up to her right brain and be connected to her mating system and thus be turned on. For men, well, you're Mr. Logical, which means she has to leave her right brain and go to the left brain to use the same processor to understand you, which means you just disconnected from her romance, from her love, from her emotions and feelings, and thus you turned her off and you put yourself in the friend zone or in the friends box, which, by the way, the left brain is the in the box thinking brain. Take my course, guys, Crack the Female Code. First, buy my book, Crack the Female Code. It will open your eyes to what's going on, how to make her happy in every way, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So now, watch this video.
This will make you think twice about who you stand next to.
This was a very gross study, but it's one of my favorites. It's a little gross. Are you ready? Okay. So they brought people into their lab. They split them up into two different groups. And they made the first group wear a sweatsuit where they catch your sweat and run on the treadmill. So they sweat a lot on the treadmill. The second group, they wore sweatsuits and they took them skydiving for the first time. And they gave them both sweat samples to smell. These poor people didn't know what they were smelling. They went, everyone who smelled the skydiving sweat had an activation in their own amygdala, their own fear response triggered. In other words, when they smelled fear sweat, they didn't know why, they began to feel afraid. Everyone who smelled the treadmill sweat had no change at all. This means that, yes, we can talk about facial expressions and body language and vocal cues and words, but there's also something chemically happening with the people around us, that we can literally smell fear and we catch it. And that is also why it's really important to follow our gut.
Now here's the thing, this is not new. They did do another study, but it's the repeat of everything we've known. Hell, I learned about this when I was a kid in the 70s. I'm going to read something off that you all have heard about, okay? This guy writes on this video, the one you just saw. By the way, I can't remember the name of this lady. The person who made this video that I copied did not mention her one bit anywhere. I can't find her. Well, actually, let me look in the description. Speaker Vanessa Van Edwards, okay? The credits, the Diary of CEO, and I think she's a doctor. She specializes in this. I'm not exactly sure what she does, but I've seen her on other videos, doing a lot of scientific stuff like this. I'm just going to read someone quoted something right next to this video. So he says, for more than 100 years, we in Croatia know and our parents teach us not to be afraid of dogs. They can smell your fear and they will attack you. Fear has a smell just like courage. Like we haven't heard this in America since we were little children. Of course. How many times does someone say, hey, don't be afraid because dogs can smell it. They can literally smell your fear. We've known about this for hundreds of years, and it's been proven scientifically, at least in the 70s, because I remember as a kid learning this in the 70s about this. So I teach a course called Crack the Female Code to men, and a lot of these logical men, I don't believe that. I'm like, what do you mean? Like you already know about this. This isn't new information. So I teach someone called internal awareness, okay? And what it does is it calms you down. It opens you up to your right brain system, which is the relaxation system. It's the calm system. It's why you meditate and do deep breathing, because when you're in that system, you relax. So when you learn how to do internal awareness techniques, it opens you up and you feel very comfortable. And here's the thing that I tell men. Now, here's what happens. When you're around someone else, they will begin to feel comfortable being around you. When you're in the logical linear system, it pushes them away. It causes being tight, tension, uptightness. And for women, they don't want to feel that when they're with a man because it closes them off to you. Like, oh, that's not logical. I don't believe you. And I'm like, here, let me show you. And they're like, oh, no. If I don't read in a scientific journal, it's not real. Even if I do it right in front of them, they can see it, hear it, feel it, smell it, and taste it with their own eyes, their own ears, their own body, it's like that to them doesn't matter. If you can do it in real life, I don't care. I just need a scientific study. And then I'll believe. Well, you might be able to believe it because that's what I do during the first 2 days. It's literally 16 hours of me regurgitating scientific studies, scientific evidence, scientific proof, and then the male brain goes, well, okay, I think this guy Mike has something here. I haven't even got to how to do it. But damn, these guys are impressed when I do that. And it blew my mind because I realized in the beginning, they would argue with me. So finally I would just pull out all these scientific studies and like, oh yeah, I remember learning that in high school science class. Oh yeah, I remember learning that, in my freshman year of college science class. Like, yeah, so can we move on to how to do it? So that's one thing I learned about a lot of logical people. You have to give them logical, scientific stuff. And one of the things I say, well, why don't you just learn something? Like, what do you mean? See, the problem with learning is you have to open your mind to learn. And a lot of left brain people, they don't really like to do that because that means you're in your right brain. But that's how you receive information. See, the left brain literally is in the box thinking. It's the conformity brain. It's like, let's set up rules. We're all going to follow the same rules. We're going to have the same beliefs. We're going to have the same values. And that's how we're going to live our lives. And we're all going to be the same and think the same and believe the same. And it's the majority rules brain. Like, well, the majority of us chose to believe this doctor and this scientist. Now, here's the thing. That doctor and scientist could be absolutely batshit wrong, crazy, has no clue. But because the majority of people believe it, well, that's the way it is, and this is what it is. And if you don't check mark this on the college test, well, you're going to get wrong, and you're going to be flunked. And you are not in our group. And you're going to be punished by not passing the test, thus not getting a degree, thus not having an ability to get a better job. You're going to be laughed at, you're going to be shamed, you're going to be told you're wrong, and you're like, no, here, let me show you. I can do it right in front of your face. It doesn't matter to these people. They need it written down on a piece of paper by an agreed group of people, that created a college or university system. And when you do it that way, therefore they believe, and therefore we're going to give you the degree, and we're going to give you the job, even though you don't know how to do it. Oh, you don't believe me? Watch this. Most of you still do this. By the way, this is an actual study in action. This is a scientific research study. The reason why I say that is a lot of logical people watch this, and if you don't tell them this is an actual study that was done, it's actually recorded down, I'm going to show it to you, they're going to be like, well, this isn't a research study. Yeah, it is.
This video should terrify you. She's part of an experiment, but she doesn't know it. Now you see these people, they're in on it. You see, she's facing the elevator exit. They're facing a wall that leads to nowhere. But because they're all doing it, watch what she does. She eventually folds and turns towards the wall, heading nowhere. Now maybe she was just a follower, but now the guy in the white shirt is part of the experiment. Everybody faces towards him. He looks confused, but in a short period of time, he turns around and conforms. Now this is where it really gets crazy. He's the victim, right? They walk in and they face him, and he looks really, really confused. Eventually, he folds like everybody else. But then he starts to spin exactly like how they're spinning. Crazy, right? The harsh reality is that this is how most people are. It's easy to laugh and say that you would never be a sucker that does this, but most people don't understand the magnitude and how much people they're around affect their behaviors. It would be wise for you to be careful about who you're around, because everybody's a free thinker until they're in a room with a bunch of people facing the wrong direction.
Here's the scary part about that. A psychiatrist will literally put you on medication if you just happen to be looking in a different direction than the majority of people. Like, oh, this person's schizophrenic. Well, you might be looking at a damn butterfly that bumped into your head. Actually, I was riding across the Golden Gate Bridge and a butterfly hit me right in the chest. So I looked down at it. Oh, he's not looking where everyone else is looking. Something's wrong with him. We got to write some notes down here. Literally, people have been put on medication simply because they didn't turn in the same direction as the people in the crowd. People at grocery stores, I'm telling you, I do it all the time. Just turn around in the line. Don't even turn around. Turn 90 degrees. Just look from left to right instead of front to back the way everyone else is doing. People will look at you like, wow, that person's a weirdo. You're just looking in a different direction. That's all you're doing. But the crowds will be like, yeah, that guy's a little bit out there. He's weird. You're not doing anything. You're just slightly different. People expect others to conform to such a high degree. It's insane. Here's the deal. We are breaking out of this. I actually helped two girls go across the Golden Gate Bridge. We rented bikes and we went across. This was just about a week ago. I have some video of it. If I can find it, I'll show it. It's on my phone. I'm sure I have it. Well, the one thing I noticed is like they never looked out across the water on the mountainside, the bay, the ocean, the horizon, and it kind of really shocked me. It's like, no, these girls were, they were, what do they call it when they make computer apps? So they were, I can't remember the name of that, but essentially went to college, got their degree, and they design apps. So they're very left brain linear. So I had to physically, hey, stop, and I say, pull over, get near the edge of the bridge. So no, for safety purposes, so no, the bicycle hits us. And I'm like, stop. Look at the water. Look at the mountainside. And they're like, wow, I didn't even notice that. Our society has become so logical, linear. People don't even notice the beauty around them. And that's one thing that kind of caught me off guard because these are women. Now, they were young women, but they're still women. Most women look for the bigger picture. These two girls, not at all. Now, I've walked a couple girls over the bridge. Young ladies, I'm sorry, I should say young ladies. For some reason, people get really offended when I say girls. Well, I think if someone's 22, 23 years old, they're not exactly a woman. A woman is someone who's been through the hardness of life and they've had to deal with a lot. I don't think I became a man until I was probably mid-40s or even later. So I noticed something about all these different people that I've gone across the bridge with. Not a single one looked at the mountainside. Not a single one looked up at the hill. Not a single one looked at the horizon. I'm like, like what is this? People that are getting educated become locked into their left brain. They were just looking straight forward at the cement that we're walking across, at the metal structure, which is beautiful, by the way. The bridge is beautiful. But I began to notice, I started watching other people. Like a lot of people don't look left or right. They don't look up. They don't look around. They're just looking straight forward. I'm going to cross the bridge. Well, you missed the beauty. And that's what I started noticing about people. You're not seeing the beauty of life. Okay, so let's wrap this up. In the book of Genesis, it was always about conquering the land and stepping into our creativity. We are there now. We've got machines. We've got computers. We now are starting to build robots. So we don't have to climb 8 hours a day over mountains and rocks and gravel and tall grass and just barely get through and exhausted a 4 to 6 hour walk and get some food and then walk back 4 to 6 hours. It's not like that. We have stores, we have grocery stores, we have silos, we have farms, we have semi-trucks, we have transportation systems, we have refrigerators, freezers, we have all kinds of stuff now. We are in an era where now we can begin to create. It is the purpose and the reason why we have always been why we are meant to be here. It's the reason humans came to the planet. So one thing I began to notice is that ChatGPT is just like Narcissist. They do the same thing. I'm like, whoa, like this. It was really tripping me out. I'm kind of a little bit pulling away from that because Sidekick on Shopify treats me a lot better. The ChatGPT has some issues, and it's like, wow, that's exactly like Narcissist. Like there's a lot of things that it does, and I'll make another video about that. Now there is a new system that's going to overtake AI and ChatGPT. All AI is doing, it goes out onto the internet, it gathers all the information, and guess what it does? Majority rules. If the majority of blogs say A, then it comes back say, hey, here's what it is, blah, 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 blah. It's just saying, hey, this is what the majority says, must be true. Nope, not anymore. There's a new system. I found it on Facebook. It's the beginning of designing stuff. I can't, I'm going to try to find it. Hold on. Yeah, I got rid of the tab. I had it saved in my favorites. It's not there anymore. So the new system is not going to do what the normal AI or chat GPT is, just go out and gather the information and come back with the majority rules. No, it is going to amalgamate. Well, what is amalgamation? Amalgamation is when you take all these different ideas, all these, you study Einstein, you study Freud, you might study some physics and nonlinear science, nonlinear physics, nonlinear math, and some linear math, and you begin to connect the pieces by yourself. You begin to come up with your own thoughts and your own ideas and realizations. So one of the things I tell men all the time in my courses, like, look, a lot of men come to me, so what do I do to her to make her like me? I go, whoa, control freak, let go. The slavery days are over. We don't make people do anything. So we go back to the video where they made people jump out of an airplane, and they had these plastic suits on. They would collect the sweat, make people smell it, and they would suddenly go into a state of fear versus people, what was it, relaxation, and they smelled that and they relaxed, or whatever it was. So I try to explain to men, like, look, women or people around you will take on your state. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, if we can get you to calm down, if we can get you to love yourself, then other people will love you. And they're like, what? Because to the external brain, this is backwards thinking. Like, no, it's the other way around. You make them love you. No, you don't. That's not the way you get someone to love you. When you fall in love with yourself, other people fall in love with you. That's how you know you have self-love. Here's the thing. I don't do anything to other people. It's all about me grounding myself, doing emotional grounding techniques, self-love techniques, self-awareness techniques, and all of a sudden I'm just feeling really good. When you feel good, people around you start to feel good. When you're angry and bitter and you talk like this and this is toxic energy, they start to kind of get uptight and nervous and angry, and they start feeling toxic like you do. This is the way life works. See, if you're stressed out, people around you are going to get stressed out because they're going to smell it in your pheromones. You're going to release certain chemicals and they're going to smell it, and then those chemicals cause their body to go into the same state. All I'm doing is teaching people how to connect with themselves and how to fall in love with themselves and how to feel good with themselves so the people around them can be in the same state. This is how you change the world. You change the world by changing yourself. We pick up on each other's, and here's the old term, vibe. It's not vibe, it's chemistry. You're smelling their pheromones. You're looking at, are they fidgety? Are they talking fast? Are they talking slow? Are they smooth, calm, and relaxed? Your body begins to feel that, and now you're feeling the same way. You smell their pheromones. Oh, you're going into a fear state or you're going into a loving state. A lot of my logical male clients are like, can you prove that? I'm like, it's already been proven. You've never heard someone say that dogs can smell your fear. If you're in a fear state, the dog's going to attack you. You've never heard that before? Well, yeah, I've heard that before. So you don't think humans have the same capability, that we don't have noses or something? We don't have nose sensors, inside our nose? I'm like, really? You don't think there's any similarity? Oh. What I would suggest is open your mind. Why not pick up a book and learn something? Well, what do you mean? I mean, I know that we have, taste buds and that our nose has smell sensors. Well, then make the connection, man. The problem is the right brain, because as I mentioned, like back in my psychology days in college, and I remember walking up to the professor, I go, well, so if her mating system is connected to her right brain's communication center, that must mean there's a different form of communication that will turn her on sexually and trigger her mating system. Oh, no, that's not what it means, Michael. It's all about looking good, and you got to have a good bank account. You got to have a degree. You got to have all these external things like a male. I remember instantly looking at him like, wow, it literally, you teach us this nerve curves off to the right brain. You saw the same image that we did. You learned this when you were in college. And you're not making the connection. See, that's a right brain function. It's called amalgamation. Putting the pieces of the puzzle together to see the bigger picture. It's not making stuff up. It's going, oh, wait a minute. If this is this and that's that. Oh, that means women must be communicating in a different language that romances them and turns them on. Well, can you prove it? Actually, yeah, I can. So people come up to me, well, where'd you learn this from? I learned it from learning some basics about psychology and then paying attention and listening, going, oh, wait a minute, that means this. And I started going in this direction. I learned it by putting the pieces together. But don't worry, logical dudes. I'm going to give you a ton of scientific studies, journals, research, and then we're going to spend a lot of time. That's what you pay about $1,000 for 2 days of training on just that, just to learn some stuff you could have Googled yourself. I know you need it written in a piece of paper in a book, and you have to read it. Otherwise, even if it happens in front of your face, it must not be real. I understand. Conform. Do as you're told. And never, ever get what you want out of life. Ever. Or you can hire me so you can get everything you want out of life. So this new computer system is going to amalgamate, which means it's going to think for itself. It is going to change everything. And I do believe, like John Connor said, something bad's going to happen here. Remember the Terminator? I do believe it's going to cause some very, very bad things. But I also believe, as it always happens, humans will overcome. We will triumph. We will self-correct, and things will be better. What's also going to happen, word of the day, I'm not quite how to say that correctly, humans are going to be allowed to think for themselves. We are finally going to be okay with going, okay, so you think this? Well, why is that? See, one of the things I teach in my courses for men and women is it's literally how to listen to understand. A lot of you think, oh, I know how to listen to it. No, you don't. You have to completely clear your mind and clear your heart of all energy, all movement, complete emptiness and nothingness, so you can receive. It's like Bruce Lee talks about a cup of water. It's like a cup of water. If it's already full, well, you can't receive anything. You have to empty, as he says, empty your mind so you can receive. Be formless, be shapeless. So now you can receive information. So now you can listen to understand them and the way they view it, the way they see it, the way they hear it, the way they feel it, the way they understand it. Not your way, because it's not about you. It's about, well, this is how they think. This is what they've learned. This is what they understand. And this is what they know. This is what I teach my clients. How to learn from people, how to understand people, how to receive their thoughts fully and completely without any interruption, without any of your thoughts or beliefs intruding in and mucking it up. Completely clear that out. So now you can understand someone fully and completely for who they are. And this is how I do therapy. When I completely clear my mind and heart of thoughts and emotions and feelings or any energy, I completely receive all of you. And whatever it is that you need to work on, it will stand out. Like to me, when I'm in that space, it stands out. It becomes obvious, like, oh, there it is. Got it. Guys, imagine what it's like for a woman when she meets a man that doesn't think and doesn't talk while she's talking. It doesn't interrupt her. You completely receive her. This is what women want from a man. They want you to receive them fully and completely and understand who they are, and what they're talking about. You do this, your whole dynamic with women shifts dramatically. It's a 180-degree shift. You're going to be blown away at how women begin to interact with you at that point. That's it, guys. Go to my website. Go to MikeKollin.com. Remember, click subscribe, click the like button. Go ahead and make a comment. And that's it. Oh, yeah. If you want, you can make a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.